Have you ever sat down to do something simple, something you fully understand you need to do, but you just can't seem to start? Not because you don't care, and not because you're avoiding it, but because there's a kind of mental resistance you can't explain. And the easiest label for it becomes laziness. It's quick, it's familiar, and it feels like the only explanation. But if you pay closer attention, it doesn't actually feel like laziness. It feels heavier than that, like something is quietly holding you back even when you want to move forward. And in many cases, that's because it isn't laziness at all. It's burnout. Burnout doesn't always look obvious. It doesn't always show up as complete exhaustion or breaking down. Most of the time, it's subtle, almost easy to miss. It starts as a small gap between knowing what you need to do and actually doing it. You think about starting something, you might even prepare to do it, but when the moment comes, there's a pause that wasn't there before. That pause grows over time. Tasks that used to feel automatic now require effort just to begin. Not because they've changed, but because your mental energy has. That's where things start to feel confusing, because from the outside, nothing looks different. The task is still simple. The expectation is still the same, but internally, it feels like you're working against something. And the more you notice that resistance, the more you start questioning yourself. You wonder why you can't just do it like before, why something so small feels so difficult now. And without realizing it, you start turning that confusion into self-criticism at the same time. Rest doesn't seem to fix the problem the way you expect it to. You take breaks, you step away, you try to relax, but when you come back, the same feeling is still there. It's not the kind of tiredness that disappears after a good night's sleep. It's deeper than that. It lingers in the background, almost constant, like your mind never fully switches off. Even when you're doing nothing, part of you still feels drained. This is where your focus begins to change as well. You might notice that your attention doesn't stay where it used to. You start something, but your mind drifts more easily. You lose track of what you were doing, or you find yourself switching between things without finishing any of them. It's not that you've lost discipline. It's that your mental energy isn't stable enough to hold your attention in one place for long. And because of that, starting becomes even harder. Your brain begins to associate effort with discomfort. It anticipates the struggle before you even begin, which makes avoidance feel like the easier option. Not because you want to avoid things, but because your mind is trying to protect what little energy it has left. Another change that often goes unnoticed is how your interest in things starts to fade. Activities you used to enjoy don't feel as engaging anymore. You might still do them, but the experience feels flatter, less rewarding. It's not that your personality has changed or that you've suddenly lost interest in everything. It's that your mind doesn't have the same capacity to feel engaged. That loss of engagement can be frustrating, especially when you're aware of it. You remember how things used to feel, how easy it was to get absorbed in something, and now there's a clear difference. But instead of recognizing it as a sign of burnout, it often gets misinterpreted as a lack of motivation or interest. Then there's the constant background, pressure that never really goes away. Even when you're resting, there's a part of your mind reminding you of everything you should be doing. It creates this quiet tension that sits underneath everything. You're not fully working, but you're not fully resting either. You're stuck somewhere in between. And that in-between state slowly drains more energy than either one would on its own over time. This pressure starts to affect how you see yourself. The way you talk to yourself becomes more critical. You notice what you're not doing more than what you are doing. Small delays feel bigger than they should. Rest starts to feel undeserved. And instead of acknowledging that you're mentally drained, you start believing that you're just not trying hard enough. That's what makes burnout so easy to misunderstand. From the outside, it can look like laziness. You're not doing as much. You're slower to start. Your focus isn't as strong. But internally, it's a completely different experience. There's effort, there's intention, there's even frustration at not being able to do more. That's not laziness. Laziness is the absence of intention. Burnout is the presence of intention without the energy to act on it. And that difference is important, because it changes how you respond to it. If you treat burnout like laziness, you push yourself harder. You add more pressure, more expectations, more urgency. But instead of improving things, that usually makes the exhaustion worse. It reinforces the cycle, making it even harder to recover. But when you recognize that what you're experiencing is burnout, your approach starts to shift. You stop trying to force your way through it, and instead you begin to understand why it's happening. And that understanding is what allows you to respond in a way that actually helps, instead of making it worse.